Yes,
yeah.
so by next week, hopefully, we'll be done with this.
Oh, that's good to know. That's good to know. All right, Dr. Majeed, I'm a little curious. Are you one of those people that would term as category A electricity consumers, people who enjoy
I don't even know
20 hours and more of electricity in Nigeria? Because, when I saw the breakdown of the category, like in this same country, except it's a company, industrial area and the likes, I will understand. But you mean that there are actually people who enjoy 20 hours, 24 hours electricity in Nigeria?
Including when the national grid collapses?
Wow, wowza.
Okay, so...
I know when I saw the category, like 20 hours and above, that is living the Nigerian dream. Well, if they've been living that dream, they should be ready to pay a bit more, as it's here that the national NEC has approved tariff increase, about 225 per kilowatt tariff hike for electricity consumers, and it's going to affect mostly people in category A. Other categories are affected, but the bulk of it will be those who enjoy 20 hours and above. The Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission has approved an increase of 300% electricity tariff for Band A consumers in the country. And accordingly, power distribution companies, DISCOs, will be allowed to raise electricity prices to 225 naira per kilowatt hour from the initial 68 naira for urban consumers this month, effective from the 1st of April. And I've been told that from midnight today, it kicks in. Now, the Vice Chairman NEC, Musliu Oseni, who made this announcement, however, clarified that the rate increase will only affect 15% of electricity consumers in the country. Oseni also revealed that these consumers, who represent 15% of the country, also consume 40% of the nation electricity. Just a bit of the take on. So 15% enjoy 40%. I want to believe the category A, and good thing we'll be talking with Mr. Fadipe tomorrow to understand
honestly
where all these categories fit in.
Exactly. I don't know where I belong to. Honestly, I don't know.
No, let's see if you'll be able to identify your category. 20 hours and above, category A. 16 hours and above, but not up to 20 hours, category B. 12 hours and above, but not up to 16 hours, category C.
I don't know. What are you really down to?
I want you to know how many hours you get, like, so you know the category where you belong. 8 hours of electricity and above, but not up to 12 hours, category D. And then the last one is 8 hours and below. So technically, I think I should fall, sometime I yo-yo between others, 8 hours and below. And then if we get to category D, we're grateful.
Honestly, I don't know, because for some time now, I could stay for a few days without electricity at all.
Yes.
And sometimes they could bring it for less than, cumulatively, say 3 or 2 hours a day. So I said, I don't even know the category I belong to. And sometimes it's difficult to tell, because when you live in a country where electricity is not even stable, how are you able to determine the so-called Band A customers and those who give 20 hours of electricity per day? Between the end of rainy season and now that we're in the peak of dry season with the very hot weather, I've observed that electricity is usually very poor. Electricity supply is usually very poor in Abuja and most parts of Nigeria. And in Abuja here, for example, except maybe if Fadipe can help us with the areas, particularly they're talking about here, that are in Band A, if they are categorized into areas and districts, we would like to know too. I mean, for some time in Abuja now, there's no part of Abuja that can boast of even 12 hours of electricity per day. So you increase this tariff, what exactly are you increasing tariffs on? Is it inefficiency, poor power supply, on the supply of electricity? What exactly are we increasing tariffs on? You see, I have always said it, and I will repeat it here again, that any increase in price of energy products, electricity is not constant in Nigeria, but even at that, whenever it's available, people utilize it for businesses and, of course, their homes too. At a time like this, one would have expected that government intervention is required to make sure that nothing aggravates Nigeria's current inflationary trend that is still rising. And the rise in inflation can be blamed on two factors, two variables. One, was the removal of petroleum subsidies. And of course, because subsidy is no longer on diesel, the price has been allowed to float and be dictated by market forces since the early 2000s. So the cost of diesel, which is hovering over 1,000 as we speak, has also added to that. And of course, forex that we saw the Naira depreciating from less than 1,000 to almost 2,000 at the time, until now that they have reversed. What the government did was effectively reverse the policy of flotation of the Naira. So the government has unfloated the Naira after the damage has been done. So they've unfloated it, and all the things they refused to do before, they are not trying to do. And that's why you see the exchange rate has improved a little bit, but it's not where they met it. But at least you've seen effort to do away with that orthodoxy of flotation of the Naira as a silver bullet that will stabilize the foreign exchange market. It didn't happen. So the CBN, or should I say the federal government through the CBN now, is effectively intervening by supplying the market, giving BDCs foreign exchange, and dictating the rate. So they not dictate how much you're going to sell.
Because the last time they sold to them at 1,217 and gave a percentage cap.
Because you are now supplying. It means you have unfloated. You now know there's a need to curb. There's a need to control. There's a need to take control of the foreign exchange market through supply, intervention, and price fixing. So the government has gone from flotation of Naira on the basis of willing buyer, willing seller to actually fixing prices. Of course, something we cautioned was required of any country because of the impact of foreign exchange depreciation or free fall in an economy. And that is why you've seen some stability in the high prices of goods and services. They are still high, but we didn't see that change in price that happened almost every hour before this intervention started. Because foreign exchange, as it was depreciating, people were adjusting their prices in case they are going to go to the market next time to buy and restock their goods and services. Anyway, on the issue of petroleum subsidy too, most stakeholders have said subsidy may have been imposed at this current rate of about 700 naira per litre. That it looks like government is struggling to maintain that price cap and not allow it to increase, because some people have said, look, if you want to go into importation of petroleum, the landing cost now cannot be less than between 1,250 and 1,350. And so that is why only NNPC is still supplying the market, because nobody is able to go in and bring prices and bring product and sell at the current rate, meaning somehow government has also fixed and pegged the price. Contrary to the initial idea that was driving government policies of, let market forces determine the price of petrol, which we have always argued is something that should never have happened in the first place. Now they are playing with this issue of removal of subsidy on electricity. Even though I do not think this is the outright removal of subsidy on electricity.
No, it's something that even the laws enact empowers NEC to review and allow for the review.
So I'm saying I hope this is just an increase to reflect the cost of gas. That is a major component of generation.
Yeah, but because yesterday I think we talked about it, and they said the government had increased the cost of gas. So
now what I'm saying is there has been this idea that subsidy should be removed completely from electricity. So I hope that this is not what has happened. I hope so. I'm sure Dr. Fadikpe will give us more clarification tomorrow. But one thing is sure, anything that will aggravate our current problem of inflation is something that government must try to avoid at whatever cost. And so if this price takes effect, what I'd like you to say is you may not even get improved supply. I mean, we've seen the fact that we have a drop in generation, which has led to multiple shutdown of the national grid. Now, there's no guarantee that price increase will improve supply. We've been increasing prices for as long as I remember, and it does not improve supply. And if you don't improve supply and increase prices, the few hours of electricity supply that people get at increased rate. Coming to Band A, people live in Band A, there are businesses in Band A. There are individuals who live in Band A. They're going to transfer the cost of the electricity to whatever goods and services they're offering you, even if their products are being sold in Band C and Band D areas, doesn't matter. And so what I'd like you to say is there will be an increase in cost of production of goods and services, which will translate into higher prices. So if this comes into effect, it might impact negatively again on our already high inflationary rates, which is above 30% as we speak. So I don't know, government must sit down again and evaluate it so that we don't go down the road we went through petroleum subsidy removal, and they talked about palliatives and I don't know how you can substitute petroleum affordability with a few bags of rice. I don't know how that correlates. Now, Forex was floated, was effectively deregulated. They had to come back to actually regulating it. So we don't want a situation where government is not taking heed of some of this, the cumulative effect of some of these policy decisions. And if you now go ahead to increase tariff of electricity, how do you need a switcher to tell that it's going to compound the already existing problems? I have always said it, and I'll say it again today. When it comes to energy, you can never price energy or allow this price to be determined by market forces because of the fundamental nature of energy. Energy means
the both of them, electricity, oil,
electricity, petrol, gas, diesel, all of these products that are required to drive production. Without energy, you can't produce. If you have to cook your meal at home, without energy, you can't cook. You can't. You can't even boil rice without energy.
You can't with firewood, but let's get back to
energy.
Yeah.
Firewood is of energy. Yes. Even though we discourage it because it's
pollution and health
exactly.
effect. Yeah.
That is energy in itself. And firewood is not cheap as we speak because you need diesel power trucks or petrol power trucks to transport firewood from the forest to the city center. It's not even cheap. And so it affects everything. Are we going to add the burden of electricity price increase? Let me tell you as we speak. Tariffs are very high in Nigeria. Don't forget that minimum wage remains 30,000 naira per month.
Which they say by April or perhaps maybe before half of the year we should see a review.
And already price increase in electricity taking effect before half the year we intend to increase minimum wage. So Nigerians are going to pay more for electricity now, as in pay more for petrol and pay more for goods and services arising from forex depreciation. How many more problems can Nigerians contend with? Again, sometimes we get fatigued talking about this because it looks like nobody is really listening. I mean, again, let me go back on it. You remove subsidy on petrol. You are now subsidizing at this rate, whether you admit it or not. Even though your advisor on energy has said something to the effect that there's governments all over the world putting mechanisms to control pricing of energy, which is a tacit admission that, okay, maybe something is happening. Now you floated the data, now you haven't floated it. So what are you going to do when you increase electricity tariff? What will be the cushioning mechanisms you're going to provide? Because for electricity, for petrol, you gave us rice now. I'm sure you got your own bag of rice too. Or you didn't get? I thought you got
serious.
Okay, so what are they going to give now in exchange for this price increase? What will be the cushioning mechanism they're going to put in place? So
to even take a step back with the whole give rice and the palliative, because people are already taking stock and saying 10 months after promises were made by Mr. President about bigger picture intervention like the CNG buses and the likes of it. There's still no show. One isn't sure exactly when that is going to come up to ease anything.
Do you know why? When you floated the naira, it affected the price of CNG and the conversion of vehicles to CNG. As at the time the issue of CNG started making a buzz in Nigeria, when exchange rate was less than 700 naira, for example, you could convert a four-cylinder vehicle for between, say, 550,000 to 650,000 naira. Once the price of the exchange rate crossed the 1,000 naira mark, don't do the mathematics, it will require over $1 million plus to convert the same vehicle. So why would a struggling Nigeria, where will you see 1.5 or 1.6 million naira to go and convert a four-cylinder vehicle so as to be able to buy CNG gas? So these are the issues. You see, these are fundamentals of any economy. Foreign exchange and energy. They're called the fundamentals. And so you have to keep these fundamentals at
stable
and affordable. It has to be affordable enough to allow for ease of doing business, ease of doing production kind of businesses. And it doesn't seem the government is paying attention to this. So haphazardly they've unfloated the naira in admission of an error, but nobody has taken responsibility for that error that drove the naira bonkers. Now,
it might not be an error. It might just be all of the try and error policy introduced, perhaps short term to offset certain things.
No, you cannot try and error. You cannot do try and error with forex. Look at the devastating effect. They floated it, and they said it will find its way back to an appropriate. How do they call it again? The real price or something. There was this term.
Real value of
the
it.
Real value. when it became obvious to them that this value is not going to be real at anything less than 2,000, that's in turn because it will begin to affect government itself.
Let's go on a quick break. We'll be back in a bit.
In a move to boost the economy.
Audio Jungle.
Hello, my name is Kimberly. I'm the host of Hard Facts, and I bring you the biggest stories driving conversation every weekday here on 95.1 Nigeria Info Hard Fact Show. I love to get your opinion and conjectures, but the facts you cannot dispute here on Hard Facts. Join me and let's talk.
This is Nigeria Info.
Enjoy 20 hours and above of electricity in the country. Other categories are affected, but not perhaps as high as that. We'll get all of the detail and the breakdown. We're looking at that and other attendant issues around the need to stabilize energy at this point in time. So, Dr. Majeed, yes, you were building on how even government itself was affected by its own monetary policy.
You see, what was the benchmark of the 2023 budget? I think it was less than, it was about, was it 850 or so? It was less than 1,000, whatever the case was.
Yeah.
Now, government would have to contend with an exchange rate that's far above the benchmark it set for its own national budget. That puts the budget itself in harm's way. It means it is not implementable at this rate because the estimates fall short of the realities on ground today. So government own policy turned around to choke its own expenses, reduce its revenue in real terms. Because what's happened is that whereas their naira revenue has increased 800. Now and today the dollar is still 1,002 plus, right? Now it means that what government could procure a year before with 1 billion naira, it will require almost twice or thrice that amount at this current exchange rate to procure it today. And that is why if you look at even the cost of vehicles, I was making a joke backstage that the cost of SUVs at the time rose in this country to as high as 750 million naira, the type that governors would like to use. And so most governors, we have not been able to change their SUVs because of paucity of funds. It's also this depreciation in naira rapidly that has created a situation we are seeing in Kaduna today, where the governor is saying, look, I cannot actually pay salary because the dollar-denominated loans we took is taking us 70% of our revenue to service it. Because at the time we took those loans, you took them at a rate that was far less than what it is today. So you need to bump up more naira. So even as your monthly allocation has increased, what is eating it up is just there waiting for you because of forex differentials. So government has realized on its own that this policy has affected even the government and its expenditure. So you have more naira, but this naira is valueless. And so they now need to shore up the value of the naira by offloading it, effective offloading. Look at the regulation that they brought out and the interventions they're making. Effectively, it's like a repudiation of the earlier policy of flotation of the naira, which were advised against considering that you can't float a national currency. You can devalue the currency appropriately and still peg it. But to float it, at the rate it was floated, it would have floated to Venezuela and Zimbabwe simultaneously. It would have been lost at sea because it would be dragged on one hand to Venezuela, on the other hand it was being dragged to Venezuela. At the same time, the naira was just going, tumbling. It was like per hour depreciation.
And then it happened rapidly within a short frame of time.
Because when you float the currency, that's what you get. People are now converting their naira
but
into
the period
dollars.
between the floating and when we saw a rapid decline, it was a few months. So I was really curious as to what is the trigger for this rapid.
There was an increase in people.
At this point in time.
You see, forex is such that speculation drives the activities around forex. So, for example, if you had 10 million in your account, idly sitting by, and you notice that there was a depreciation in the dollar, in the naira from, say, maybe 800 naira to, say, 900. And people are still telling you, I know it will find its true value, it will go up and down and settle at probably 750 or thereabout. You are telling to wait and see whether it will indeed settle at that rate. It didn't settle. It went to 950. It didn't settle. It went to 980. It didn't settle. Went to 990. And for the first time in the life of Nigerians, in our widest imagination, nobody ever imagined naira would cross the 1,000 naira mark against the dollar. Once it crossed, the rat race began. So because that 10 million naira you have in your account has become useless. So to save what is left of it is to convert it to dollar and keep.
And a lot of people were doing that.
You don't blame anybody for that. Look, it's my hard-earned money, and the policy has eroded it. So since the open market is free, it has been deregulated, no regulation, it is a free-floating market. Anybody you'll be unwise to allow your money to waste away without converting to store value. That's what happened. There was that rush. And that rush, that put more pressure on already scarce foreign exchange. That the market was no longer being supplied by government. And so what happened was, we now started 2000. We got to 2015 naira before government realized that at this rate, it was going to get to 10,000 before. If you keep going until it gets to probably 1 million naira. So they had to quickly put on their thinking cap. It was like a shock therapy for them. So they unfloated the naira. And today they are supplying the market and trying to bring the naira to an appropriate level of value. And again, I'm happy that the CBN governor believes that the naira is currently undervalued. It's important that he has that belief. Because if he was one of those who believe that naira is actually overvalued at this rate, it means he would think that even at 2,000 or 3,000, naira is still okay. Some people have that belief and hold that opinion. But thank God he believes that it is still undervalued, meaning he believes that he needs to do more interventions until he gets to a level where he thinks is appropriate. Fine. Good luck to all of us. Now, on the issue of electricity as well, it's an important component in production, in productivity. And so I believe that any marginal increase in the cost of production now will aggravate the current problem of inflation. I don't know how government is thinking in this direction.
But because even if Band A is basically for people who do industries, factories, and the likes of that, it is still going to take a toll. Because they will transfer the cost.
You in Band C, you're going to buy goods and services from those in Band A.
Exactly.
So I don't think Nigerians can endure or can take. We don't have the capacity to take any more toll on our meager finances. All of us are Nigerians, we know what we're going through now. So government should think this through very well. The only saving years that will be for us is that if the electric power supply continues for a while, we might not feel the impact much. If we still need to rely on diesel power, the alternative source of power, or petrol, it will mean that we'll still be grappling with the current rate of diesel prices and petrol prices more than with electricity prices. So the only saving grace here is that electricity is not in adequate supply, where people rely more on electricity for production. So otherwise, it will be double jeopardy for Nigerians. So something needs to be done about this, just in case even that little supply of electricity takes its toll on the already aggravated situation of inflation.
You know, talking about the power being epileptic and inconsistent, and we're not feeling it, it brings us back to the question of this low gas supply.
Yes.
I was going back to it because, you know, Discos will tell you we rationed this one, TCM will come with no problem, Gencos are not getting as much gas, and then we do have abundant supply of this. I mean, I guess we had yesterday, we said, do we not even flare gas? What is the problem with actually getting there enough for the government to even increase it? And then we're having that challenge because this is the season where we're dependent. 70% we claim is generated from gas. And yet we see more consistency of electricity during the rainy season when water level go up, and it drops significantly in a place where you tell us we get 70% from when the rains are out.
I'm happy you are bringing Fanny Pay tomorrow. I really want, I'll tune in to listen to him, because this is one puzzle that I've had to grapple with in the last 10 years. I've been observing that during rainy season, you don't have problem of gas constraints, you don't experience too much of shutting down or the collapse of the national grid. The gas-powered Gencos, we don't really hear excuse from them. And we have improved, even though still not adequate, but we have improved power supply during rainy season. The only time there will be power cuts is when it is raining. They will take back their power Then once the rain stop, they restore power. So we have better supply of electricity during rainy season. We have improved distribution and all of that. Now the question is, why is it that it's only during dry season when we have to rely almost entirely on gas power plants when the river Niger is low in terms of volume, so that our hydropowered plants are not working optimally? Why is it that it's only that time that we're beginning to experience all of these excuses about gas constraint, gas supply?
Why?
And why is it only during dry season? How come we don't experience these same problems during rainy season? That brings me to an important question that we need to ask. What exactly is happening in the generating companies, particularly gas power generating companies? Something is just not adding up about all of this. Does it mean that Nigeria actually relies? Yes, we will have 70% of generating companies operating on gas, but does it mean that Nigeria still relies more on hydropower for constant electricity than gas powered generating companies? Because something is not just adding up. Once the rain starts now and the volume on the on the river Niger increases, you will see improved power as a result of injection from hydropowered power plants. And you won't hear these complaints anymore. You won't hear maintenance issues anymore. Until the next cycle of dry season, you won't hear the same complaint year in, year out. I've observed this for at least 10 years.
I have observed, and that's why sometimes during the rainy season, when Nigerians will call and say, electricity has improved, I'm like, when dry season comes, we visit the come.
Why you're showing a new president? Exactly. With rainy season.
Exactly. Body language.
Body language. We are in rainy season, wait till dry season.
If you've lived long enough in this country, you should be able to read the pattern. Yeah.
Again, we need a complete overhauling of the power sector. For too long, we've played with that sector. We privatize Gencos, we privatize Discos, and we're having the same complaint. And people are telling you, privatize TCN. That is the problem. I said, the one I privatize, the Discos privatize, how are they performing? The Gencos privatize, how are they performing? Anyway, it's neither here nor there. One that thing we must push for. And I've been asking this question. Our president did something very good when he came. One of the first legislations decided into law was one that allowed states now to generate, transmit within their states, and distribute electricity. How come no state government, since June last year, that is very important bill that has devolved the power of electricity generation, transmission, and distribution to states? You know, talk about division of power, division of powers. This is one thing that I believe was left undevolved. I'm not one of those who believe that states do not have power or do not have the elbow room to actually create buoyant economies. No, this was the last of what I thought should have been given to the states to control, which is electricity. So today, states control electricity, they have powers to control electricity within their states, rail services within their states, and so many other areas that powers have been devolved. And this devolution started under the last president and was continued under this president. So this all-important aspect of electricity has been devolved to the states. How come not one state government, not one, in the last 10 months, not one, has been able to put investments in place to generate, transmit, and distribute electricity, even if it's in their state capitals first? How come this government has done it?
Maybe capital intensive. Perhaps they don't have the lobbying power to bring in the right investors with the the capital to start it. Let me tell you this. Because you don't want to talk bailout with any investors coming into that sector.
Let me tell you this. No investor, I repeat, no investor anywhere in the world would help any entity, geographic entity of any part of the world to do the heavy lifting investments required to drive productivity. It's not possible. Investors only come into a market to make profit from an already thriving environment. So no investor will come and help you generate electricity. Bury that one in your head. It won't happen. Quote me anyway. Quote me in the next 2-3 years. None. It won't happen. Because it's not in their interest to do heavy lifting. They have capital, right? There are places where you already have a thriving electricity market. Why won't they go there and just invest and continue to make their money? They can even purchase shares of thriving electricity companies in thriving jurisdictions. Why should anybody come and help you generate, transmit, and distribute electricity in Kogi, in Benue? On what purpose? What is the person's interest? What is his? If
they have a lot to profit from it, again.
I'm saying you as a government must demonstrate that profitability first before anybody can follow suit. So it is a responsibility of the government, state government, to bring part of their FAC allocation now, float a state-owned power generating or call it utility company. It's only Nigeria will have GENCOs, this, that, separate. In some countries, they call it utility companies. And utility even includes not just electricity, gas and water companies.
All right.
So float a state-owned utility company for purpose of power generation, distribution, and transmission. You can start from your state capital. When you have done that, it becomes a monopoly, right? And the investor can now come to say, okay, let's break this monopoly. Let us also set up our own side by side your own and expand to other parts of the state. So state governments must start from this point. So I think the federal government is already overburdened. So let the states go back to their state.
Take it up at this point in
You
time.
have been given the power. Go and generate electricity for us. It will help your economies.
All right. Let's take some comment and move on to the next story quickly. Asupita is on YouTube. We're on YouTube and Facebook at Nigeria Info Abuja for YouTube, at Nigeria Info Abuja for Facebook. Asupita says, when will Nigerian leaders start thinking of the people? Why do they always favor marketers and punish the masses? And he listed quite a number of areas where that happens. St. Patrick said, the administration behaving like enemies of Nigeria living in Nigeria. They keep adding hardship to ordinary people. What's the use of increasing price of service not rendered? I still don't have a meter, and I'm among those Nigeria who still pay estimated electricity bill. But are you category A? If not, you don't need to stress yourself. And Godwin Sani says, welcome, Dr. Majeed Ojo Oluwafunsho. We see you, Paul Agba. We see you also. Dr. Majeed's brain uses 5G network. I wish someone up there is listening and not just hearing. Paul Agba from Maraba writing this afternoon. Thank you so much, Paul, for your message. On Facebook, Christian Ejikeme, she said, Nigerians have men who turn things around, but ethnicity and religion and bigotry is what's killing us. What are you responding to? I can see Benjamin Chukuma is also watching us. Oh, Shenwa Kyoye, good to know that you're watching and listening. Thank you very much. Nigeria have men. Okay, we read that. Benjamin, we see you. Adeniro Taiwo Olubenga. All right, see you also. Let's look at some messages quickly. Chidi from Suleja is asking, Dr. Majeed, how sustainable is the current drop in the exchange rate? And question is the power going to be constant? If not, going to the case, what's the point of increasing it? How's that? Well, apparently category A people are enjoying constant power supply. Because if you get 20 hours, that is constant in my world.
But who gets 20 hours? Do you know any area that gets 20 hours of electricity in Abuja, for example? That's the question.
They will be.
Do you know
that we don't know them does not mean they are not there.
You know what I'm saying? I'm saying maybe Dr. Fadibe will tell us tomorrow the areas in Abuja that actually get 20 hours
electricity.
I want to know those areas because
boy,
I mean I on daily basis or most days of the week I traverse some of the most exclusive areas in Abuja, and the way I hear generator boo, then later tells you the rate at which power goes off and on in these areas. The
estate where I stay, the number of wind I hear.
So I don't know where in Abuja as at now. I don't know. I don't know part of Abuja, for example. Definitely not my own part of Abuja. But I'm curious to know where in Abuja do you have and A designation effective?
All right, Nigerian government should please consider the downthrown from this policy because increasing energy tariff with the situation in the country with epileptic power supply, I think is insensitive and it's going to bring about more inflation. Oludade Abiodun sent that one in. We may not know which category we belong to, Kim, but we remain sure the category to which we do not belong to, that of receiving 20 hours of electricity per day on their receipt. And what about we in Maraba that consume less than 3 hours of power supply? What is our charges? Don't worry, I doubt it will affect you. You almost do not have power. I shouted when I heard to convert to CNG is over 1 million. That's very unfriendly. Country that prioritizes pilgrimage over using such amount to subsidize energy. Maybe they will share more rice and more citizens would die from stampede. Okay, I heard the decline in dollar will cost 1 trillion naira. Please, can you confirm that? David is listening from the UK. Is it UK in the UK or UK somewhere in Nigeria? God bless Professor Majeed. Indeed, you're a nationalist, but the men at the top, are they listening? All right, people keep asking this question about if they're listening or not. I assure you they do. They hear. Thanks for always keeping the public abreast. Each time I hear subsidy removal of this or that, the question that keeps perturbing my mind is what has been the benefit of the subsidized ones or removed? The recurring answer is no benefit to the ordinary Nigerian. What about the fuel subsidy removal for over 10 months and no meaningful thing to account for it? Now, there's electricity tariff issue. Why is the government playing with the lives of citizens? Tom from Gwarimpa. Let's hear this call. I will take 2 calls and move to the next story. Hello? Hello?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon to the Oracle. Good afternoon to Dr. Majeed.
Good afternoon, sir.
It's not what Dr. Majeed mentioned about our governors. Honestly, in fact, our governor, he seems to be lazy governor. Now, the president signed this autonomy or about this electricity, but none of the governors, with the huge amount of money, when they say subsidy is gone, their the state allocation increased. If we are talking of state allocation, the state that we are getting 2 billion, now they are getting about 10 billion. So they need to, it's not everything that we burden with the federal government. Yes, we know federal government have their own. This case, the state do have their own. They have all this money. There are some money that don't give account for, like the security force. If they can be able to do that to generate light, to generate energy, I think Nigeria can be able to assist that. So me that I'm in the local area now, that I'm not in town, I don't use oxygen for 20-hour light. I don't know how my own will be. But why? Can somebody tell me now what the government is subsidizing for Nigeria? Dr. Majeed, can you please tell us? Maybe you're not better than us. What is it that the government are subsidizing for Nigeria now? For now, I want to know. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you. And we'll take this one quickly. Hello?
Thank you, Kimberly, and Professor Majeed Abubakar from Bagulaga.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah, good afternoon, sir. Ramadan Kareem to you and to everybody listening.
Thank you very much,
Why
sir.
shouldn't federal government take a giant step in giving example? They should go into collaboration, business collaboration, say with government of Kano State as a pilot state, with the government of Kaduna State, Akwa Ibom, let's say Lagos, in a Kano State to demonstrate the capacity of state and federal government going into collaboration in generating power. So they will inspire other federation units of the federation. So it is done like that. If they can go into partnership with Dangote in his refinery, why not go in partnership in power generation and supply? So they will set an agenda. They will give priority. But if you continue turning out the policy that kill creativity, that kill potential, you are killing Nigeria, and Nigerians are the most important investment.
All right.
Killing the workforce, you are killing the entire country. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, you name dropped Dangote. You want to respond to anything quickly before we move on to the Dangote refinery and all of that?
Somebody asked the sustainability of this current intervention in the foreign market, and it's a very important question. Yes, Nigeria will still need to expand the source of foreign exchange. We need to improve and ramp up production of oil, crude oil. So something higher than what we are doing now. Not to earn more dollars, but ultimately, the government must go back to productivity. I can't say this enough. By the time you have the 36 state governments of the federation in partnership with the federal government and whatever investor they can lay their hands on to go into export competitive economic enterprise, where you're going to have volumes and volumes of goods and services out of each of the 36 of the federation into the international market to earn dollars. The current intervention might not really be sustainable because, they have increased interest rates. And so that has actually attracted foreign portfolio investments into our bonds and security market. So that is the dollar we are using now to intervene. In addition to the fact that CBN is now collecting revenues from NNPC directly. But what if those who have
Revenue
invested...
directly, CBN?
Yes, CBN is now, like what... CBN was no longer remitting at the time. But there was an arrangement between the CBN and...
NNPC was no longer remitting.
NNPC was no longer remitting to the Federation account at the time. Because, well, I don't know, for so many administrative purposes and all that. But I think there was this arrangement that they came up with where the NNPC now is now remitting into the accounts in CBN. I hope that has been effected and I hope that is ongoing. But otherwise, we'll be left with no option than to believe that the only money they are using now to intervene is money they are getting from FPIs. But these FPI dollars have tenure. It's called hot money. At the end of the tenure of about 1 year, they will need their monies back with interest. And you're going to give them back their dollars. And if you don't give them, if you default, it means you can never ever float any bond or security and get it subscribed anywhere in the world again. So you must give back this money. So what if you try to pull out this money to give back? What will you now use to support if you don't have other sources of forex that is more sustainable through an export competitive economy that can only be brought about by the participation of the state as the door of the economy?
Okay. And let's see. In your bond, love it. Chema says, Wuse Zone 1 is a Band A category area, but we do not see 20 hours of electricity. Well, explain it when they charge you 300%. Paul,
in fact, Zone 1 is really suffering energy poverty.
So by the time they compute 30%, what will now tell you? Don't see 20%.
So I don't know.
That's a conversation for another day. But let's look at Dangote Refinery. Diesel price dropped by 20.6% as Dangote Refinery floored domestic market, according to the Vanguard paper, that the price of automotive gas oil, AGO diesel, has dropped by 20.6% to 1,350 per litre in April, as Dangote Refinery pumps the product into the domestic market. Nigeria inflation and foreign exchange crisis had pushed the prices of the product to over 1,700 per litre in most parts of the country, including Lagos and Abuja. Usually, it was mostly imported from the global market. However, checks indicated that the price of diesel started to drop following the awareness that Dangote Petroleum Refinery has pegged its price at 1,225 naira per litre, and reported that marketers say they are now buying diesel and aviation fuel from Dangote Refinery. The chief executive officer of one of the big Energy Marketers Association of Nigeria, Major Energy Association of Nigeria, NEMA, Mr. Clement Isong, actually said that oil marketers have started to lift diesel and aviation fuel from the $20 billion Dangote refinery, and so far it has affected the price of it and the review downwards. So,
okay, we've been seeing that news since yesterday.
Nari, we've been seeing it since yesterday. So we're waiting for it to.
Oh, thank you. You made my job very easy this afternoon. So I'm waiting for the effect on the pricing as indicated. The only thing that is a bit curious to some of us, and I don't know, maybe if there's any scientists listening to us now, or any petroleum engineer, maybe they cannot find an explanation. My primary knowledge of chemistry is such that when you distill crude oil, you get the lighter components first, which includes aviation fuel, of course, petroleum, then diesel, and other heavier components. Now, how is it possible to distill crude oil and you get aviation fuel, you don't get petrol, and you get diesel?
I definitely cannot respond to that.
Exactly. So something that, I don't know, somebody needs to clarify.
But they also say something about how his refinery is set up, that is, to refine. I do not have the answer.
Again, it's something that a lot of people have been asking.
But it's curious, right?
It's
that
curious.
You get some
How do you get certain things? And you ordinarily you cannot get diesel from my elementary knowledge of catalytic cracking and distillation. You cannot get diesel without getting petrol first. After you've gotten aviation fuel. Aviation fuel is actually kerosene. It's kero, essentially. So it's lighter. So it's followed by petrol.
Aviation fuel?
Yes.
Or AGO?
Aviation fuel.
Okay.
It has the same chemical composition with kero. But it's a bit more purified and has some other embellishment, but essentially they're almost of the same category. So the issue is you cannot get some of these products and then get a heavier one without getting the one that is intermediate. Anyway, we hope that Dangote will finally come on stream nearly a year after it was commissioned in May last year. And we hope that it will supply the market with locally refined products, diesel, aviation fuel, petrol, most importantly. I also hope that it will impact positively on the pricing. We want to see the benefits of local refining for Nigerians. But ultimately, we must bear in mind that Dangote is a private company. And Dangote has no obligation of energy security to Nigerians. For Dangote has no obligation, as a matter of fact, to provide petrol sufficiency for Nigeria. They can export whatever they want.
Well, according to the report, Dangote will start to supply premium motor spirit, petrol, by May. So we keep our fingers crossed and see about that.
So the most important thing is Nigerians will be happy with Dangote refinery and it's coming on stream if it's bring down the price of products far lower than what we are having it now. But the problem is this. If you observe, during the build-up, during the stockpiling of crude oil for refining, we saw reports too that Dangote imported crude oil from the United States of America, which means he must have bought
to meet up what he wanted, because we're
because
sold
Nigeria
off.
could not supply him enough. So this has created another challenge that may not likely impact positively on the pricing. And this is something that we've always talked about. That
But it depends on how long that is going to go on for.
Well,
I need to get the fact of how long Nigerians, in terms of whatever arrangement we had with whoever we're supplying our crude, how long that would go on
So
for.
it all depends. But the most important thing is the fact that he has imported crude from America and shipped it down makes it not so different from actually importing petrol. Because if you consider freight, if you consider other factors, and the fact that he bought definitely at international market price, and he brings it down and then he distills it. So you may not get. I hope the refining, the cost of Dangote's petrol will not even be higher than what we have now for imported petrol. I don't know. I'm here to see. I don't know what will happen really. And so this is why I've always maintained that every country must have a robust energy policy in place, such that even private refiners will key into it and make sure that price of very essential energy products, as in the case of Nigeria, petrol, diesel, and aviation fuel is very essential. It's very important for economy. Must be at affordable prices. I must insist, and I cannot overemphasize this. Affordability gives you energy security, especially when it's also available. So that brings me to the question of subsidy again. Subsidy must always be in place, even for private refineries. So for Dangote, for example, it is easier to even manage subsidy regime now that you have Dangote refining in Nigeria. So you can actually monitor what goes on there. You can monitor the books. And so far so good, Dangote has proved to be, a transparent and a serious money businessman. So you can actually do direct intervention with Dangote to say, look, since we now know the volume, you can track properly, we can do proper quantitative as well as qualitative analysis of our petroleum consumption and the pricing mechanism. Subsidy will still have to be in place. What am I saying in essence? If indeed there's subsidy now that has maintained the price at the current rate, if NMPC is going to give way for Dangote to flood the market with product, and the product is going to be higher in price than what we are facing today, government has an obligation to subsidize Dangote refinery. I'm setting this as an agenda now. Before
we get there and meet some surprise. But then NMPC has already given us heads up with a warning that nothing is going to change significantly.
That is, what I'm saying is Dangote truly has refined petroleum today. And has bought crude both from Nigeria and outside at international market rates. And if for any reason his own prices of products going to be higher than the prevailing market price, particularly for PMS, we must begin to tell government that it has a responsibility to subsidize Dangote now, so that the prices will not go beyond the current level. Because what government should be doing ordinary is to push these prices back to where they met it. Keep saying it. Back to where you met it. Because we're still a 30,000 naira minimum wage monthly country that can hardly afford what we are facing now. So any increase beyond this level, coupled with the increase in the price of electricity tariff and all the increments, it will be a combustible recipe of heightened inflation that is definitely going to incinerate.
But isn't the same logic applicable to the fact that diesel price has gone down? Isn't that the same logic to apply?
The price of diesel that you say is coming down. Diesel was on its own deregulated. There was no control. I'm saying there is still some control on price of petrol.
Petrol, yeah.
And I'm very confident about petrol, really. So we've seen a control that has kept petrol at 700 naira per litre. And I'm saying if Dangote refines his petrol and it's about 700 naira per litre, what do we do? Where do we go from here? That same control that we have seen has to be put in place through subsidy. You have to subsidize demand for his product, so that just can have benefit of being an oil-producing country like other oil-producing countries.
Indeed. What's in it for us as a people with the oil? Let's go on a quick break. Leave your comment on Facebook and YouTube. We'll read as many of them after the break. Stay with us.
Can I have your attention, please?
This is Nigeria Info.
Nigeria Info.